This is my uniform. So when I come home, no matter how shit my day's been, I can take off my hat and say, well, I had a bad day as a salesman, but the husband, the dad, he's fine.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't been out there taking the hits. So it's very important. One of the things I talk to my clients about is separating your identity from your role. A recruitment consultant is a role.
It is, yeah.
It's not your identity.
No, right.
It's just a role. And you can fail in your role. Fine, but you haven't failed at being you.
Benjamin Dennehy, absolutely delighted to have you on the show, the Purpose-Led Leadership Podcast. I've followed you and your brilliant posts for quite a while on LinkedIn. Welcome. It's not the first time in the UK though, is it?
No. I lived there 25 years. I still work here, still got clients here.
Yeah.
I do. I like the United Kingdom. I came over for 2 years originally and never left. So that tells you how much I liked it.
And you're from New Zealand, right?
New Zealand originally. It's my home country. Yeah.
Well, we'll delve into your wonderful sales experience
Yes,
and how you come across. But let's get to know you first, mate. So
me.
just paint us a picture of your journey since school and the ups and downs you've had.
Okay. So I went to high school, obviously, in New Zealand. I was an average student, if I was being honest. So I think in my final year, I don't know how, we had something called like levels, and I think you had 5 levels, and I think I probably averaged maybe like a C plus, B minus. And then I went to university. I'd always wanted to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
People said you'd make a good lawyer because you were like argumentative, and I was always very good at using words. So university is where I came into my own because I was able to study the things that I wanted, whereas at school, you had to do the curriculum. So I found university quite easy and quite enjoyable, and I loved law, and I did really well. I graduated in time. It takes 4 years to do a degree in law in New Zealand, so I graduated in law. Then I went on and did the training to become a barrister.
Oh, wow.
And I qualified as a barrister. This is something not a lot of people know. So I got into a huge dispute with my university when I was training to be a barrister. New Zealand's a small country, and when you're training for the bar, it's run by a completely separate institution from the university. But they had an arrangement that you could use their facilities.
Yeah.
Because, you can use the law library and all of that. You just had to get a student ID card. But in order to get a student ID card back then, you had to join the student union. Mm-hmm. And I was opposed to compulsory unionism, right? And so what you had to do is you had to pay your union dues. They would then issue you with a receipt that's then paid. You'd present that at the registry, and they give you your student ID card. So that's how they ensured they got their money. So, of course, this is back in the 90s. So what I did was I wrote a check for the $40. Got my stamp. Got my card, then I stopped my check.
Right.
I thought, screw you.
Okay.
So I stopped my check. And then what I decided to do was stick posters all up over the university telling other people to do this.
Yeah.
And so anyway, what happened was it took about 6-8 weeks for this to work its way through the system. And the next thing I know, I got in a lot of trouble. I nearly didn't get admitted to the bar over it.
So you've been anti-establishment for quite a while.
I've been anti-establishment, yeah. So this was a huge battle. I didn't know till the day before my swearing in if I was going to get in, because they complained to the Dean of Law. And in order to get admitted to the bar, you needed a certificate of good character from the Dean of your law school.
Yeah, of course.
Now, he said he couldn't give me one because of the complaint that I defrauded. So when I explained the situation, I'd also looked up the law. And I remember he looked at me and goes, because I think you might be onto something, actually. He goes, unfortunately, because you've been accused of something quite big like this, and this has gone to the New Zealand Law Society. So it went all the way to the Law Society. Before it even been admitted, the Law Society was investigating me.
Right.
But anyway, they had a hearing, and they exonerated me of doing anything wrong, because they said, actually, you hadn't actually, under the rules and the statute, technically,
no way.
I was right. I didn't have to pay the fee because I was not.
Did you know that before you did it, or you just
No, I knew that before I did it, because I'd gone away, because I'd obviously qualified, I'd finished law school, and I was looking at the rules on student university fees, and the bit about the donation for the student union is you didn't have to pay it if you didn't physically attend a university for courses. And I thought, I don't. That covers me. We're under that. So I'm going to do that. So anyway, in the end, I was exonerated, actually. I said I hadn't done anything wrong, and I got into the bar. But that was... it divided a lot of my fellow lawyers at the time, because a lot thought I was just being a dick. And the other side saw the point. But by the end of it, a lot had come around and said, no, actually, you're kind of right. You've stood up to the man and you won.
Well, on one hand, it sort of shows your ability to kind of read loopholes and find loopholes, which is quite...
Well, that's a lawyer's job. Well, it's just not... I hate how people say loophole. They're not loopholes.
Well,
it's just the law.
It is what it is.
You've just found the law and you've used it how it was written. And if you don't like the way it's written, then you change it. That's how it works. So no, I hate the idea. I hate that when I say lawyers find loopholes. They don't find loopholes. It's not our fault if the law's badly written.
So where did this kind of like, I don't think it's direct, but most people would think this kind of direct, black is black, you know, really kind of like straight down the line, no messing about, straight talking come from? Have you always been like this, or was it how you were parented, or?
I don't know. It's a good question. I think I've always been quite direct in the way I've seen things. Life to me is pretty black and white.
Yeah.
I think we overcomplicate life. I think it's quite straightforward.
Yeah.
I think in the modern world in particular, we're now reassessing things we've known for thousands of years to be fact. They're now areas of grey, which it's just academic. It's like academic pornography, as I call it.
Yeah.
They're just engaging in stuff for the sake of it.
Yeah.
So no, I've always been direct, I guess. Just as I've got older with age and I've learned new things, I suppose I've found a better way to express it. And obviously it came out through business and sales, but I discovered very quickly that I had the wrong personality to be a lawyer.
Yeah, but I think the more direct you are with sales, the better off you are, the more honest you are. I think people fuck themselves up, for want of a better term, with this long-winded introduction sales pitch about just tell me what the fuck you're selling and what's in it for me kind of thing. I think is certainly my style to an extent, but obviously not what you say, is how you say it. But what do you think?
Yeah. Well, they say salespeople spend 10 minutes selling and 50 minutes talking it back. I think that's about right. And they do talk too much. And it's driven by their behaviors and their beliefs. And the main reason they overtalk is they want to be liked and they want to impress. Yeah. And they feel they need to impress a prospect.
Yeah.
And that interferes with every interaction that they have with the prospect. And I try to drum that out of people that I'm not there to impress a prospect. Now that seems weird.
Yeah.
Obviously I need them to believe and trust in me, but I'm not there to impress them. I'm there to figure out, and again, this is hard for salespeople to grasp. I'm there to figure out, should you be my customer?
Totally.
It's not the other way around.
Well,
and
it is.
Too many people get that
they need
wrong.
to impress you, almost.
This is it. It's an interview. I have a solution that I know works. We've built a business.
Yeah.
This stuff that we have works.
Yeah.
We know that. So this isn't some dog and pony show for me to jump through hoops and impress you.
Yeah.
No. What I'm here to figure out is there are more reasons for you not to give us any money.
You're the expert.
Yeah, I'm the expert. I'm the doctor. You're the patient. So my job is to figure out, do we want to work with you? And when you start acting like that and believing that, it changes the entire structure. It's easily said, though. So many salespeople, but I do that. No, I watch you. I listen to you.
I'm the same as you. I do loads of sales coaching. Before I even start in on the technique, I find out what their mindset's like. And if they're putting the client on a pedestal, please, sir, can I have your whatever? They've lost.
Yeah. Well, I look at the language straight away. So it just even the way salespeople talk, they often don't say. So I was phoning clients the other day. I said, no, you mean prospects.
Right.
So they even use the word client for persons that aren't even paying them.
Right.
So before, and I go, language is so important because it gives away what's really going on in your head. And so, no, not client. You're phoning prospects. Yeah. I was talking to a prospect the other day. Good. Yeah. A client is giving you money. A prospect is someone who's not.
Yeah.
So I listen to that, and this is how you can start to see where they're thinking. Yeah.
So the red hat, you badge yourself as that most hated salesperson or something, but you've changed the slogan on your red hat. Has that always been the same slogan?
It's always been make salesmen great again. Yeah. No, obviously. So when I was setting out in this business, it's a very crowded marketplace.
Yeah.
How do you stand out? That was one thing. The other thing is, actually, you've seen me on LinkedIn. I don't fall into the sales chumocracy. You get all these sales trainers that all seem to bro.
They say the same thing. Yeah.
I don't do that. I always stand back and stay out of the fray. And if I start to get too close to people, I sort of draw back because I want to be independent and unique in the way that I do things. And what I noticed is as I said, salespeople like to be liked. It's the biggest weakness. But when you go look at sales trainers and how they describe themselves.
Yeah.
They all describe themselves the same way a
Yeah.
crappy salesperson would describe themselves.
Yeah.
I'm the best, number one, top performer, sales leader, guru, expert. And I thought they still want to be loved.
Yeah.
Again, they don't get it.
I think if I was to say 2 words, it's be yourself. That's how you win generally, isn't it? I think.
No, I beg to differ.
Okay.
I don't think you should be yourself. You've got to be whatever character your prospect wants.
Right. I wanted to delve into character.
Yeah.
So
We're chameleons.
you're playing a character.
I'm playing a character.
Yeah.
So the UK's most hated is a character.
Yeah.
Created
it's not really
him.
you, no?
Yeah, and it's not really me, no. And this character was created, but I can change my behavior when I'm in front of a prospect. I can change the way I question.
Yeah.
And so understanding personality types is important, but I'm not there to get my emotional needs met. So I'm not there to get people to buy from me.
No, what I mean by be yourself is like you're not being disingenuous. You're not trying to like impress them. You are what you are.
Yeah, yes. Okay, if that's what we mean by be yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
But obviously, if your natural personality is a bit of a dick, then you can't be you.
No.
That's
People
what I
see
get.
through that anyway.
Yeah, you've got to be. And the thing I hate is you watch it all the time. The sales people in the sales meeting. And laughing at the terrible jokes and the trying to find common bonding ground, and it's so painful.
This small talk stuff
this
is
shite that this bonding and I hate all of that, which I don't do. There's no point.
So you qualified and didn't pay 40 quid, which is good. What happened after that?
Then I decided, I thought, well, I will get a job, but before I do that, I want to hitchhike around New Zealand for a bit.
I've never been. It's supposed to be beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
And so what I wanted to do was be a bit of a traveling bum. Again, it's very anti what you're supposed to do. I've always done the opposite. You're supposed to graduate law school, and then go and... Mine was, no, you know what? I'm going to sell everything I own, which wasn't much.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take the money in a backpack and I'm just going to hitchhike around New Zealand and have fun. So that decision was made. I ran into a friend of mine who I'd done, the training with, and he'd become a lawyer. And I told him my plan. And he just said, why don't you go to England? And I said, why the hell not? I said, he goes, He goes, it's on New Zealand. Go to England. And that was it on the street of Dunedin in 1999. It must have been October. I said, yeah, fuck it. Let's go to New Zealand. 6 weeks later, I was on a plane. Yeah. And I arrived the week before New Year's. So I was on London Bridge. On 1999,
so around the corner from here, then.
London Bridge, yeah.
What would you say the differences are between the English sales culture and the New Zealand or any other culture?
I only have very anecdotal New Zealand experience because I've spent my entire life in the United Kingdom, career in the United Kingdom. Okay. So that's very hard for me to discern because I've never really... I've spent no time selling in New Zealand. I have read things. Yeah. But culture-wise, I would really struggle because I've spent no time in New Zealand selling.
Do you think your accent gives you a good advantage?
I get asked that all the time. Yeah. I don't think so.
I think it makes you stand out, obviously.
Does it make you sound... I wonder that because what I know is because I get asked this all the time because I work with people in like India and in Europe. So people that have some very strong foreign accents. If you're phoning in the UK and you've got a very strong foreign accent, then you are probably going to get a lot short, sharp shrift. Yeah. That's a simple fact. Yeah. Just like me, if I went to India and was cold calling in India, I would be treated with a bit more suspicion than so. So that is just a human thing. We're quite tribal like that. So I think being a New Zealander or an Australian or a Canadian, they're also similar, and you're also very clear and easy to understand. I think, and so I think so. I don't think it hinders you. I think it's the same as being an English person in England, or I could go to America and do it. I don't think it'd be an issue. Yeah, but you get French people. I went with a French guy phoning into the UK, and at first he was really struggling. Because, it's a Frenchman phoning you. So I said, well, let's make fun of it. And he starts now phoning up saying, look, you're going to hate me. I'm a Frenchman phoning into the UK. Do you want to hang out? And most people start laughing. No. Yeah. And so he's used that Achilles heel to his advantage.
I think everyone's different, but I'm a hardcore traditional get on the phone and make it happen. And the way I enjoyed being on the phone, because they couldn't see me. It was what I sounded like. It was my tonality. I never put the client on a pedestal, never saw them as inferior, but I just had a conversation with them. When I was back in the day, I've been in sales 30 years. When I went to meet my clients, they couldn't believe it was me because I sounded like 15 years older. I looked 15 years older, So I think you can put on a character. You can how you sound can be the tonality of what you're saying is actually really important, isn't it? I think as well.
Particularly on the phone when they've only got your sound to go on. So how you sound, how you ask questions, and how you make them feel.
Yeah.
And you got to get that right. And too many salespeople, they ask questions, but they ask the wrong question in the wrong way. Or they ask the right question in the wrong way, or they ask completely wrong questions, and they don't get this.
Yeah.
And one of the things I talk about that salespeople particularly are bad at, particularly on cold calls, is I call it crab walking. Crab walking is where you go sideways. See, most salespeople don't have a structure their call. They don't even know why they're on the phone.
Yeah.
If you ask the average salesperson why you want a prospecting call, they'll say things like, well, to get a meeting, to get an appointment. I go, no, actually, that's not the reason. That's an outcome.
Yeah.
What are you actually trying to do to this human being? And then when they get it, it's, well, my job's trying to get this person emotional about what it is that I fix. That's the purpose.
Yeah.
If I can't get them there, it doesn't matter what happens. So if you don't have that structure, it's very easy to do crab walking, because what the prospect says is they say something like, well, we're using ABC systems currently. And then without following the structure to get them emotional, you go down the intellectual route. You go, oh, okay, well, what is it about the ABC system that you like? And then I say, well, we quite like the fact that it does that. And now you're going off on an intellectual tangent, and you can talk for 20 minutes like this. And still nothing come of it, because you've not followed a process to move them from intellect to emotion. And that is why most sales calls, I'd say about 95% of sales calls fail, because if you listen to them, it's like you never really understood this person or got them to feel anything. You just talked at them for 15 minutes.
I think that's right. So when I'm interviewing somebody, it's not necessarily the answers that I judge them on, it's the questions.
Yes, 100%.
So how would you then extract emotion or get someone to feel? Is it a case of making them understand that they do actually need you, for one?
Well, I call it the emotional grinder. It's very simple. What you got to do is, because of the way I structure a call, I list the things I fix, the 3 most likely statistical things a prospect could recognize. That's the first thing you're going to do. These are the 3 things typically most people can experience. You either recognize them or you don't. If they say they don't recognize them, then I know the conversation's probably got to go anywhere. I'm not fussed. I'm only interested in the ones that say, well, I can kind of relate to that. Once I get them to realize I can relate to one of those pain points. Now my job is to take one of them and expand it out. So when you say your guys aren't picking up the phone, can you give me an example of what you mean? Now I ask that question because if you ask someone for an example, they can only give you the most recent or the most painful. It's how the brain works. So now I'm getting them to tell me something about themselves. And what's the number one thing people love talking about?
Their sales,
themselves. So that's the also. I want them to start talking about them. Because once they start talking about them, they're going to keep talking. And if I ask the right questions, they'll keep answering. So once I understand, they give me an example. I think, well, how long's that been going on? Well, what have you done to fix it? Okay, well, I guess that must have worked then. And that's a presumptive push away. And well, no, it hasn't. And then I slowly, well, how does it make you feel then, knowing that despite trying to fix X, it's still happening? Well, it kind of pisses me off. That's all I need just to get them to that point. That's enough. I'm not after tears on a couch. Just after enough of them that kind of pisses me off. Okay, well, look, last question in. Have you given up trying to fix this then? Well, no,
because they wouldn't want to say anything else.
Exactly. So they go, well, no. I go, well, look, let's pretend I could fix it. I don't know if I can, but pretend I could and you genuinely believe. Is there any reason you wouldn't want to spend half an hour talking about this? Most at this point say, okay, fine.
See, what I love about what you're doing here, you're asking great questions, but you're coming across as if you don't actually you care, but you don't care if it's a no.
No, I don't care. That's really important
as well, isn't it?
Very important. I don't care if it's a no. And I know it won't be. And I know that if I get someone into this questioning structure, the odds are by the minute they're going to agree to meet with me. I pretty much know that. It's almost a dead cert. In fact, when you get good at it, and my clients will attest to this, you can get through that entire conversation and get someone to agree to meet with you. And it's about now that they go, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Yeah, right.
And this is the penny drop moment. If you can get someone to meet with you on a phone call.
Yeah.
And when they do book the meeting, they finally say, sorry, I didn't get your name or where you're calling from. For the first time in your life, you'll realize how irrelevant you are.
Oh my God, that's so important. I think people spend half an hour introducing themselves.
Yeah, no one cares. I never introduce myself. That's why I do the pattern interrupt. Because they never are, occasionally they do. But I can get all the way to a meeting without anyone knowing where I'm calling from or what my name is. And when that happens, you realize for the first time, oh my God, I'm so unimportant. Yes.
So you're saying the structure is asking questions to help demonstrate you can diagnose their problem and you have a solution. Is that what's the three
My
things?
job is to move. So you start off, you do your pattern interrupt.
What's the pattern interrupt? Go on.
So it's rather than there's so many of them now.
Yeah. You just go straight into some sort of conversational thing, right?
Yeah. If I told you this was, I'll be upfront if I told you this was a sales call, So that's a pattern interrupt. You've got to do something like that. But everyone's doing, I get this, everyone's got their own versions of them. No one was doing these 10 years ago, but now they're all the rage.
Yeah.
But anyway, you got to do that. But that's irrelevant. Everyone focuses so much on the pattern interrupt. Then they focus on how to deal with the objections.
Right.
I say, I don't care about the reasons why. I'm only interested in the people that recognize the pain. So I list the 3 things you're most likely to recognize if we were to work together. And then from there, I've got to move them on a journey from intellect to emotion. It's just 5 very simple questions.
Well, in terms of the style that you have, you've badged yourself as the most hated.
Yes.
Why do you think people don't get you? Or some people don't get you. So obviously loads of people get you, but the people that don't get you, what sort of stuff they say?
Well, it's their mother's fault primarily. It is. It's all the head trash. Because what I teach is I say things that go against things they believe to be true.
Yeah.
And the moment you say things that go against something you believe to be true, you hear your mum in your head. You hear that critical voice go, no, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
That would not work in our world.
Yeah.
That is your critical parent voice in your head. So when you hear that critical parent, I know. So whenever I like to say, I don't argue with salespeople. Say, look, if you have a fight, you can argue with me and say this won't work. I don't care. You take this, phone your mum and have this discussion. This stuff works. You've just got to go. And most of the time, they've never tried it. That wouldn't work in our world. Well, how do you know? It just wouldn't. Our customers are oh my God, the number of times I've heard managing director, our customers are special and unique. No, they're not.
Right.
There's nothing unique or special about your customer.
So would you say that your skill set and your salespersonship is transferable across any sector? Or what do you tend to sell? Is it just the training, or do you help customers get more clients and products and that kind of stuff? Or
so I've worked in multiple fields because the fundamentals don't change. I avoid things like enterprise selling and channel selling. One, because they sound boring in and of their nature. They just sound boring. So I prefer the more transactional. A lot of sales is transactional. You don't have to go into long-winded multiple committee procedures.
Got you.
You don't have to. You can. Selling recruitment, if you get in front of the decision maker, there's no reason why they couldn't make a decision at the end of that meeting.
This is what I was going to say to you, because I've put stuff on LinkedIn and I got pelters for it. Like, recruitment is the hardest sales job in the world. All the recruiters loved it, and all the non-recruiters were like, no, it's not. Recruitment's easy. But I think because we are selling people, for want of a better term, there is more involved in it. You can argue that backwards, but I think recruitment is different to selling an inanimate object like a pen or a car or a watch. What do you think?
Well, I still work with recruiters, and the thing I teach, the thing you're selling is how crap other recruiters are. You fix the experience that they've had with every other terrible recruiter. That's what you're there to fix, because anyone can find people. You could argue. You're there. When I'm selling in recruitment, every time you're selling in the awful experience that they've previously had. That's what my solution is too.
Because you're an ex-recruiter, or you
tried
it.
That would be a line. So I'm an ex-recruiter.
What happened?
I started in recruitment. I started at Hayes.
Oh wow, okay.
That would have been 2003. Yeah, 2003. This was my first ever sales job. I needed a job.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about recruitment. So I got taken in back at the time. I'm probably sure it's still the way they do it now. They have a hiring spree and they hire 20 people in a hit.
Yeah.
And basically over a 6 to 12 week period.
Yeah.
Most of them are jettisoned.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. It's just like, it's almost like
recruiters are traditionally the worst at recruiting for themselves, but they're good for their.
I had to go through all these series of little events, and it was almost like being on The Apprentice. You had to do a stupid skit, and you know, and then you get through to the next round, and then you were assigned, and then over a period of 12 weeks, you were slowly jettisoned, because it turns out they called it canvassing back in the day, not
That's
prospecting.
Right. I remember.
Canvassing.
Yeah.
Canvassing, and all you had to do was non-stop canvassing. That's all you did, and then learning how to write a CV. So basically, I was based out of the office in Ealing here in London.
Yeah.
The regional director for London, a guy called Mark Holmes, I think it might have been. Can't remember. Anyway, Mark something. And I remember he just he phoned up the office on the Friday, and he spoke with me. He said, "Benjamin, this isn't working. You've got a week,
right?
So if you haven't achieved something by this time next week, you're out of a job." And that kind of hit me. It's like, you know, I'm in London.
Yeah.
So the next week I just went in and I just hit the phones.
Yeah.
And I got a load of meetings. I got into some companies that they've been trying to get into for some time, like JC Decoux. I remember trying to get to JC Decoux for ages. And somehow I got a meeting with JC Decoux and a couple of other companies. And my meeting was delayed. He sent me an email. Said, "Benjamin, I can't make today's meeting. Just do next week what you did this week."
Yeah.
So I just hit the phones again. And so what happened was, this is quite unique. He came up to me, he said, "Okay, this is what we're going to do, Benjamin. You suck at recruiting because you just don't have it." But he goes, "But you're very good on the phone. You've got a skill." So I'm going to give you a new job.
Yeah.
Your job is solely canvassing for others, get the meetings.
Yeah, right.
And he goes, "And I'll pay you. So we'll change how you're paid. We'll pay you for every meeting that you get."
I'm not surprised. I bet you're amazing at that.
And we'll pay you for every new contact you stick into the system or something. So essentially, I was the only person in Hayes who was just solely paid to prospect.
Yeah.
And ironically, I ended up getting poached by a new business development agency because a former guy that had worked at Hayes who got fired got a job there. He goes, "Oh, I know, the best guy getting meetings. This guy just..."
Why do you think recruitment wasn't for you? Because I'm going to challenge you a little bit when you said anyone can find people. I think that's a common misconception. I think there's an art to it, and you're probably going to bite back at me. I think a good recruiter has lots of emotional intelligence.
I agree.
You have to do all that kind of stuff as well.
I think finding the candidate, there's the two sides. You've got the candidate facing and the client facing. So I accept that. So why was I, again, we're going back 20 years. I didn't know it was really a sales job. That's the first thing. No one tells you that. That's the first thing.
That's true.
Secondly, the experience I had of watching some of the recruiters do what they did. And I remember watching them talking people into staying at a job that they hated, so they'd hit the 12-week mark. So the company didn't have to give a free replacement. You know, and I used to say, and that just jarred with me. And I just, on a personal level, thought, I don't really want to spend my life convincing people to do a job they don't really want to do just to avoid having to fill a role. And I used to watch it happen. I didn't like it. I didn't like the hours. The hours were 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m.
If you're lucky,
and I remember thinking, this is... It's like, no. I said, this it just...
So what does, in your opinion, make a good recruiter then? Because you're right. It's as straightforward as you want it to be. And you said it at the start. You don't have to make it as complicated as you need to. No. What do you think?
Okay, well, you're putting me on the spot here because I don't spend much time thinking about recruiters or how to improve recruiters. What makes a good recruiter? Well, I think at the heart they're a salesman. Yes, because this is a sales role. I think that is, it's not a people role. It does involve people, but all sales involves people. But primarily, you got to get the job on, and then you've got to match the skill set with a candidate, and that there is a skill in there. So you've got to both understand the candidate and understand the client. And if you can get that right, then you'd be good. But again, too many are painting by numbers. Too many are just trying to stuff anything in.
I think that's right. Going back to cold calling, right? You know, I think it does help to an extent if you've researched and all this kind of stuff. But what makes a good salesperson isn't necessarily worrying about, I know the colour of their walls and what they had for dinner last night. It's just picking up the phone, having a conversation and making it happen. I think sometimes if you overthink these things, you know.
People do what you... I get annoyed when I hear this research thing.
Yeah.
I know what I fix.
Yeah.
That never changes.
Yeah.
So I don't need to know what your company does. I just need to ask you, do you recognize the things I fix? Because if you don't, then it doesn't matter what you sell.
Yeah.
So I've never researched a company ever.
Right.
I just phone up and say, if you have salespeople, then you're likely to be experiencing these things. Now, if you don't recognize these things, then there's probably no point in talking to me. It doesn't matter what you sell.
Yeah. I love your raw honesty, right? I put a post out on LinkedIn about basically it doesn't matter what you call yourself, what industry sector you're in. We are all salespeople.
Yeah.
Aren't we? Even if we work in a coffee shop or whatever we do, everyone's trying to get something out of their life, or not in a disingenuous way, but why shy away from being a salesperson?
Well, no one likes to admit they're in sales because it's got a dirty stigma attached to it.
Yeah. So
that's why you're called a recruitment consultant. And I hate the phrase recruitment consultant because the average recruitment consultant does no consulting. There is no skill and they're literally, and again I blame the contingency model because the contingency model has created basically a race to the bottom. It's got nothing to do with actually doing your job. Just chuck any old shit and hope something sticks.
Yeah.
And that's recruiters' fault. You can't blame the prospects for that or the companies because you've educated them. We'll do it for free. And everyone says we're retained. They won't do retain. You go, well, that's bollocks because there are loads of retained recruiters out there. I've worked with them. I think you're retained. It's not hard to get retained. You can't say it doesn't work when people are doing it.
No.
What you need to say is, I can't do it or I'm too chicken shit to do it. At least be honest. Don't say it don't work. Just admit you can't do it.
So this anti-establishment, which I love.
Yes.
Clearly, I don't think I'm very employable. I love being an entrepreneur. Would you say that's a fair term for yourself as well?
I'm institutionally unemployable. I get offered jobs all the time and I turn them down because I like the freedom that my lifestyle has given to me. I am a bit of a control freak. I like to micromanage everything and do everything. I was talking to a guy yesterday. He's a tech founder of a software. And we were just discussing business, and he was amazed that I was the only person in my business. He goes, I thought there'd be more people in considering what I said, no, it's just me. He goes, I find that fascinating.
It's very difficult to scale you, though, isn't it? No.
This is it. And this is the other thing. If I get in front of a company, the first thing the CEO says, we'll get you, right?
Exactly.
So I am. So I've created this. Plus, I'm not a people person. So, I've inspired a lot of people to go off and become salespeople and a lot of set up business development agencies.
Yeah. I mean, we are different but similar as well. It's what I've tried to do is I love coaching, but when we're trading our time for money, there's only a certain number of days in the month, and after a while you think is the better way. So you're doing things like buy my stuff and digital products. What sort of stuff are you doing there?
So I do the digital platforms. That's the only way I could scale my business. And again, I got to thank the Chinese for this because it's COVID, right? Release another one, guys. Because COVID changed my world because I'd never thought of doing anything online until COVID. Because I had to. Everything was in-house training.
So you had to
It was all in-house and it was part of the routine, the character and all of that. But COVID forced me online. That's when I was suddenly opened up to the world. And I didn't realise how many people outside of the UK were interested.
You're quite new to LinkedIn then, to an extent.
No, 2016 I started on
but
LinkedIn.
You've kind of blown up a little bit recently, would you say? Or is it?
Well, it would have started in 2019.
Yeah.
The reason why it took off, I remember this, is that two events happened.
Yeah.
One was I did a podcast with Mike Winnett.
Oh, right. He's good. He's been on mine, actually. He's a straight
not
talking.
Another dickhead podcast, and that went out.
And
I think a lot of people saw me for the first time and said,
I saw that.
He's not as big as Dick as I thought. Then about a few weeks later, there was me on another podcast on the couch making a phone call.
Right.
On the red couch.
Oh, I love your live cold calling. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and so those two videos in the space of like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And both of them got like over 100,000 views on LinkedIn. And from that point, I think people went from this guy in the red hat who's always saying me, because I used to get a lot of flack in the early days.
I think I did as well. I'll be completely honest. My initial impression was, who's this?
Dick.
And then you actually look at what you're actually doing.
Yes.
And you're converting your phone calls to sales. So who are we to judge?
No, I would get a lot. Yeah. And there was a series before that actually called LinkedIn Lovers, because I get people on LinkedIn post under my thing. This is fucking bullshit. If you ever phone me up and you said something like that, I'd hang up on you. It's easy to say that when you're sitting at your computer, right? So I started phoning these people and recording conversations, and all of them fell for it. Because when in the moment, you don't have your little LinkedIn warrior hat on. You're just caught out, and the pattern interrupt back then worked because no one had really heard it. Because everyone said pattern interrupts are stupid. No, I was going, no, this is the way.
It's the difference. And it goes back to what you're saying about observe the masses and do the opposite, man.
Do the opposite. Yeah, so I'm going to go back to saying, hi, it's Benjamin from ABC Company now, because everyone's doing...
exactly, you're going back.
You're going to hate me. This is a cold call.
I told you so.
But no, so if I die, there's one thing I've given to the world, and it's I've got everyone using that cheesy line.
What's the worst abuse you've had? Because even I've had some shit, but you must have had quite a lot, no?
What's the worst abuse? No, I've had the odd angry person, but I've never had a lot of it. I've been thrown out of an office. That's the closest I guess you get to abuse.
Why was that?
It was I wrote about this recently. It was a law firm. I'd put on an event, and I'd managed to get about 20 lawyers into a room. And at the end of it, it went well, and some of them had said, you should meet with our senior partner. So I went and met the senior partner at a law firm in Southampton. And basically, there's a rule I have that when someone asks you a question, you answer with a question.
Right,
now that's a learned skill.
Yes.
And if you screw that up, you'll piss people off. So our early infancy days of developing this, so I wasn't very good. And there was something that happened that had never happened before. And I say this, but I'd not experienced it. So 99% of the time, if someone asks you a question and you go back with a question, they will change the original question.
Right.
So where are you based? You go, well, what do you mean? And then they'll say something like, well, we prefer to work with someone based locally. They say something and they add new information. They don't come back with where are you based? They don't do that.
So you can then tell your answer to.
So I get more information from them. So it doesn't matter what the question is. I go back with another one because I want to understand why you've asked that before I answer. So it's no point saying London.
No.
And he goes, well, I hate London. Fuck. So where do you go from there? So, well, when you say, so this lawyer said to me, he goes, okay, Benjamin, my question is this. Who have you worked for? How long will this take? And what will it cost me? I said, well, that's a fair question. I went back with a question, and he did something that had never been done before. He goes, I just want to know who you've worked for.
You bastard.
He did the same question. And it was in the moment. So I went back with another question. And in the moment, this guy just stood up. He goes, I think you should leave. And I remember this. And I remember I looked at him. I went like this. I said, fair enough. I said, I'd probably ask me to leave about
That's quality.
Now.
Going back to LinkedIn then, what, in your opinion, what's the good, bad and ugly of LinkedIn in your experience?
What is the good, the bad and the ugly? Well, the good is... I've met a lot of great people through LinkedIn. I've had a lot of fun on LinkedIn. It's almost like the office place for people like me and you and a lot of people now. So it is the office place. You go in there, and like a true office, there are some people with dicks. You've got every type, in your feed. You got the people who like you see, you get the people you don't like.
Little groups of people.
You get your little water cooler moments, and you get all so it's like an office place. And the good thing is you can just turn it off though. So that's good. So I like that. So there is an element of social interaction, and it's generated me a lot of business. I can't lie. I've got a lot of business from LinkedIn. So that's the good. I think the ugly is there's too much crap on there now. I know people say it's not Facebook, it's not Instagram, but there's got to be somewhere we can go where it's not constantly polluted with everything other than just business. That's my only...
You want to get to know people. You want to learn something.
Yes. I want I just want, And I think the other thing is, maybe this is an age thing. Because we're going back 20 years to when I was doing this. So 20 years ago, I was young, I guess. But
how old are you now?
48.
Same as me, mate. We look great.
So 28. It's what amazes me now is, again, it's probably because my feed, you get siloed,
Right, of course.
And obviously the algorithm keeps feeding you stuff. And it just feels that everyone on LinkedIn now is a sales expert. Have everybody?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm 2 weeks into sales, and this is my journey so far, and and everyone loves I get the story. I understand the marketing, the story, I get it, but it's no substance to it.
No.
And you've got to write in a certain way now.
Credibility is what you want, isn't it?
And it's this new way of writing. Everything's got to be so heartfelt. And I tried to kill myself once, and
one of the things.
It's just a little.
So how would you describe that kind of, the whole vulnerability, mental health, well-being piece? You're not a fan of that?
No, well, it's just like what do you call it? Britain's Got Talent. Gotta have a sob story. I'm doing this for the dying grand. So there has to be a sob story.
Yeah.
So that's what LinkedIn's got to. It's gone from being a place to go to listen. So I think a lot of serious players don't engage with it much now.
Right.
Yeah, because it's like, I don't know, but it is changing. I think it's harder to get points across unless they're told in some emotional knee jerk.
Or you've got some sort of really Photoshop selfie or whatever,
You got to have a photo now, apparently, the algorithm. So again, I know it sounds like I'm being old and whingy here, and maybe I am, but I just feel it's lost its business credibility to a degree.
I think you can have a balance. I've got 75,000. You've got 62,000. Not about number. We've both got big, decent following. You don't get followers unless you're doing something credible or you're gaming the system. And we're not. Neither of us are doing the latter. But when I post now, it's with intention. It's not to get likes. Well, that helps. It's to add value, to give insight, and to get fucking business.
Yeah. And what I know, again, you'll know this from business.
Yeah.
The numbers are always vanity. The metrics, likes means nothing.
Of course.
All of this means nothing. And it takes a while to get your head around that. And so I've been doing with my platform. Yeah. And my platform does really well. And the guy that helps me with it says, you can look at all these other people, they're not doing well just from the way the numbers are stacking up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the thing with LinkedIn is don't compare yourself to other people on it.
No.
Yeah, you shouldn't do that anyway.
No.
But it's very easy to look at a post and go, man, that post got 300 likes and
so you actually direct people off LinkedIn to your platform, is what you're saying?
So my goal, look, I've said this repeatedly. I say this to everyone. The only reason I'm on LinkedIn is to make money. Yeah. I'm not there for friends. I'm not there for social interaction. So every post I say is buy my stuff.
Yeah, of course.
That's the whole reason I'm there. And that's it. I'm up front of it. I'm a salesman. I'm a sales trainer. People aren't buying my stuff. So that and my YouTube combined, a lot of people see something and the two interact.
But it frustrates me. I work with some clients and they do all the hard work and they're scared to ask for the money. They're scared to invoice because we can't. But it's not their money. It's your money. It's just like, this is what I love about you. It's like, sell and then get and close and get the money. Don't be afraid to ask these questions.
This is my job. I'm in this for one reason, to go to the bank. That's it. I'm not in this to get my emotional needs met. I don't need any more friends. I have a family. If LinkedIn was destroyed tomorrow, fine, I'd move on. No, so like I said, I like LinkedIn because it makes me money, but I've said this and I've met so many other people who say the same thing. The day I don't have to be on there is the day I won't be.
Right. Well, that's good. You see it as a means to an end.
It is a means to an end.
Yeah, right.
And it's so I think a lot of people maybe don't get that.
Yeah, I actually think that's really, really good advice because I think people are sucked into it. And, who are we to judge? People on there, we've made good friends, but ultimately, I think people judge their self-worth sometimes based on how many likes they get. And that's actually quite dangerous for your mental health.
They are. And then you look at someone in your sector and suddenly they're doing really well. The veneer of LinkedIn isn't true. LinkedIn is like all social media. People are telling the story they want you to hear.
So personal brand, what's your view on personal brand?
Okay, so I walk a tightrope here. I'm a personal brand because I'm a one-man band and a one-man business. I had to create this character.
Absolutely.
But if I worked for IBM, I don't need a personal brand because what's the point of IBM? They spend their time on it. So do you need a personal brand? No. I don't think anyone... There's always an exception. Don't get me wrong. There's always an exception to the rule. But if you're working for a big company, your personal brand isn't really going to sell the product.
No.
And if everyone's got a personal brand, then personal brands have no currency or value.
Yeah.
So I think it depends.
Yeah.
If you're I don't know. If you're just an SDR at a company, do you need a personal brand?
I think the likes of you and I, who are kind of solopreneurs, I think it does come into the fray. But what pisses me off, if you were to ask me, is that there's a lot of personal brand gurus out there that's saying unless you've got a personal brand, you're not going to get anywhere. And actually, it's all about inbound. But you can get the likes and the leads as much as you want. You've still got to convert. Therefore, you've still got to be a salesperson. Yeah. You've still got to build relationships.
85% of stuff that comes from LinkedIn is waste of time anyway.
Right.
Because most people are trying to look for stuff for free.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. I really love your stuff. You're really influential. I'd love to have a chat with you, i.e. code for, I want to steal as much from you for free.
I want your time.
Yeah, it's like, no, I don't have time. I say book a consult call. That's why I started charging for the consult calls.
Yeah, absolutely.
I started saying, it's $150 to have a chat to see if we should work together.
Right.
Eliminated 85% of people that said they wanted to talk to me.
But most people are saying, you can't do that. But like, if they're going to pay $150, they'll pay 15 grand.
Yeah, if you can't get 150 quid off someone, then how are you going to get the rest of you? This is how I teach them to sell proposals.
Right.
You know, and and everyone who wants to do it can. It's just a mindset that you can't do. We've never done it that way. No one in our industry. But that's probably why you should do it.
So are you kind of always closing, aren't you? But in a subtle way sometimes, would you say? Or
well, for me, no. Mine is I spend my life trying to get rid of people.
Got you.
That's my goal in life.
Yeah.
The more I try to get rid of people,
you're closer to the ones.
I get closer to the ones that want to work with me. So my whole life is trying to get rid of people. So first, whenever someone says we need sales training, I know you don't. They go, no, we don't. No. Look, no, you don't. Yeah, why do you need? And then I force them to argue and justify their position, because if they can't fight for their problem, they're not going to spend money on it.
Right.
Yeah. So this is my job. So I deny everything. So
that's a different lens, because you're qualifying them to say actually they do have a problem and they are willing to spend the money on it.
Fight for it. If you can't fight for it, you're not going to give me any money. So prove to me. Well, no. Why don't you just put your prices up?
Yeah.
That's the easiest way to solve.
So do you feel that you've never, the position you're in, you never really had to justify or sell yourself, or have you? I guess you get
maybe when I first started, but now it's it's all the language you use, and I make it clear, and it's it's all subtle. This is all done on a psychological level. I say, look, so the purpose of this meeting is that I need to be convinced. I need to be convinced.
Wow.
I need to be convinced that you're someone that needs me, because I'm going to be upfront with you. This is fucking hard.
Yeah.
It costs you a lot of time and a lot of money.
Yeah.
And the change is probably going to be more than you want. So unless you can convince me you need to do this.
What if someone says, well, why should I convince you? You're here to convince me, mate.
No, I'm not here to convince you. If you think that, then you've got the wrong sales trainer.
Yeah, but I'm seeing 3 other sales trainers at the moment. I don't know whether you're better than them or not. So.
Yeah, and how are you going to know that before you hire any of us, just out of interest?
Have you got any examples of your work?
Yeah, I could. Do you think I'm going to show you the crap examples or the good examples?
Well, what do you think? Hopefully the good ones.
Well, of course, I'm only going to show you the good ones. But if you were to talk to one of my clients, what are you hoping they're going to say?
Glowing reports.
Give me an example of what you'd want them to say.
Well, that you've increased revenue, you've helped my sales team become more confident on the phone.
And if they told you that, would you believe I could help you?
Well, I would be more believed, yeah.
You see, notice you can't even answer your own question. You see, and I just because I get that all the time, and I say, fine. Do you know what's going to happen though if you phone my client? They're all going to say the same thing because I've taught them to say the same thing. They're going to say this.
Yeah,
it worked for us. I don't know about you, because sales training is like a diet program.
Yeah.
If you don't follow it, it don't work.
What if I was to say to you, I know that I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this to catch you out because I know you're brilliant. I'm doing this to help the audience. I think these are common things that my clients, my audience. You get the archetypal MD who says, "Well, Ben, you're doing well on LinkedIn, but my team, they're quite, we like to build relationships and build rapport and nurture our clients. I feel as if I get you into a room with my team, you'll scare the living shit out of them." What would you say to that, Ben?
I'd say you're right. So don't get me in.
Right.
I mean, why are you talking to me if you're scared that's going to happen?
I was hoping that you would be able to tell me that you would get them to see things differently from your sales.
Yeah, but getting them to see things differently doesn't mean they're going to act differently, though, does it?
I thought that was part of your services.
I can't make them do anything. I mean, you want them to sell more, don't you?
Of course.
Why aren't they then?
Because we haven't got the capability and I think it's the belief, the mindset. We want your confidence and your skill set, but I think, isn't it how you do it? Or are you just going to, do you have one style?
What do you mean by one style?
When you're coaching a group of people, would you adapt your style to suit individuals, or is it a one size fits all?
Well, give me an example of what you mean, because I don't know what that means.
Because in my experience,
see, that's how I can keep you doing all the talking.
Yeah, this is brilliant. This is brilliant. In my experience, you get people that like presentations. You get people that like prefer more of a cuddle, or kind of people just want to be told how to do it, or some people want to be. So I think.
No, I'm not a magician.
Oh. Okay.
No.
Interesting. So I've got a team of 30 people, and they're all slightly different.
Yeah.
What would a typical first session look like if we were struggling with sales, struggling to get meetings, struggling to win business? How would you approach that?
I don't know yet, honestly, because I don't know enough about you or your needs. But let me ask you a blunt question, because we'll figure out whether or not we can work together, usually from this question. Whose idea was it to get sales training?
Mine.
It's yours.
It was my idea based on we need a different opinion, different lens. There's too much familiarity.
Yeah. So have any of your guys come to you and said, I need help, I need sales training?
Yeah. They have, yeah.
So some of them have. All of them? Some of them? How many? Out of 30, how many would say they've asked for help?
We haven't asked everybody, but a good proportion of them have, yeah.
Okay, so it was them that initiated this and got you thinking about it, or you were thinking about it, you just saying?
I think I knew it, but didn't act on it, and they've just pushed me over the edge.
So let me ask you this then. Have you asked them whether or not they're wanting to pay for their own training?
No, I haven't asked them that question.
If you asked them, what do you think they'd say?
No.
Sorry?
They'd probably say no.
Okay, so that's why we won't be able to work together.
Because they don't want it enough?
Because they don't. Exactly. Doesn't matter what we do. Doesn't matter how much you like me. Doesn't matter how much they like me. If they're not willing to invest in themselves, why would you invest in them if they're not going to invest in themselves?
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a question. If they got good at what I teach, who would own the skill? Would it be the company or the individual?
See, I love that. It's very intelligent. You're getting me to think differently and getting me to think actually the problem isn't the problem. It's rooted elsewhere. It's the people.
Yeah.
It could be the people as opposed to me.
And what's interesting, you see, this conversation we're having, I haven't had in years. And the reason why is when you change how you structure a sales meeting, so it's designed to be asked better questions, these common objections never come up. I very rarely, I cannot remember the last time an MD said to me, well, why are you different? Or prove to me that this will work. I can't remember the last time it happened. Right. Because the meeting is done so differently from a typical sales meeting, you can't get the typical objections. And this is the reason everyone keeps experiencing the same objections over and over again. So what have you done to change? Well, I've done nothing. I just do the same thing and hope for the best. That's why it keeps coming up. And one of the things all my clients discover very quickly is everything they struggle with stops happening when they change the way they behave.
So I think it's very interesting because, as you said, with recruiters, they tend to sell against their competition or sell how great they are.
Yeah.
You don't do any of that.
No, not at all.
So you do it by asking questions to get to the root of what the problem is.
I have to get them to figure out for themselves they need me. I can't convince you of anything.
Got you.
But I can get you to discover that you need it. Yeah. So if there's anything I want to tell you, I ask, how do I get you to say it without me telling you?
Yeah.
So I will raise with people. So often I get to the end of a meeting and I'll say, so based on the questions I've asked and the answers I've given, do you believe I can help you? So this is a key question for me. Do you believe I can help you?
Absolutely.
If they say yes, I go, okay, can I ask why? And then they justify why. And then I go, so you must have a question for me then.
I think you're right. I think it's approaching it. Even if you get 3 no's in that first, there's always a yes somewhere. You just got to find it. There's always
got to find it. My job is to get to know quickly.
Yeah.
I'm working with a guy that's gone from having a 4 meeting process to close to down to 2. So why are you having the 3 and 4? I don't get it. This can be done in 2. We can even get it to 1, but let's go to 2. He's now closing at the end of the second meeting because what he's doing is he's eliminating people earlier. Yeah, and so this is a key. A salesman's job isn't to qualify in; it's to disqualify out.
Yeah, I totally
and
agree.
they get that too wrong. Just because someone expresses an interest in you or your business means jack.
Also, I'm going to swear again. It's my podcast. Don't take it fucking personally.
No. Well, that's the other thing. No emotional attachment to the outcome.
Yeah.
I always bang on about that. This is why you hire a lawyer. He doesn't give a rat's ass what's going to happen to you at the end of the trial. Win, great. Lose,
right.
you know? Either way, as long as I've done my job competently and properly, and no one can come against me. If we win, great, I take the win. If we lose, well, we were going to lose anyway. It was a hopeless case, but I did the best that I could. So either way, I don't care. I've done my job. Same with a surgeon. You know, they're not in there go, God, please, God, don't let this person die on me.
Oh my God. It's just like sometimes when you see someone making a phone call, it's like they're calling God. You're calling a human being who's got a fucking arsehole the same as you.
They are. Again, mindset though. It goes back again. It goes back to training as a kid though. It's rude to interrupt. You know how many people? That's why most people don't like making cold calls. It's rude to interrupt.
I interrupt too much, but no, I don't. I just part of my style. It's my style.
Yeah, some of us are good at it, but this is it. It's like a lot of people who have natural sales ability fall into it. You mean good salespeople? This is why I wanted to get into training.
Yeah,
because it was a client of mine. Basically kickstarted it because he listened to me on the phone. He was the CEO of an advertising agency. He said, you know, you're very good. I listened to you on the phone. He goes, you've got such a brilliant way of talking to people. He goes, why is what you do so successful? Why does it work? I said, honestly? He goes, I said, I don't know.
No.
I said, I have no idea. He goes, you're going to make your money figuring out why what you do works and showing others.
See, that is so cool because like,
and that's it.
Most people, they don't, it's the action. They're just doing it. They don't know how. They're in flow.
So this is what got me into exploring how sales works. Because you would look at a lot of really good salespeople and you'd ask them, why are you good? And a lot of them can't actually tell you. And so, I work hard. I do. So then they give you, but I still don't get why you're good. And then you got to figure out why. And then once you start to figure out what works and what doesn't, then you can start deliberately and consciously doing the behavior that will work. Rather than it just happening. And most salespeople just do the same thing over and over again and hope for a different outcome. It's a numbers game. You've got to be in it to win it. Those are all lottery jingles, by the way. They weren't created by salespeople.
Yeah, but you can phone a butcher, baker, and a candle maker and get nothing. 100 calls, or you can make one call and get everything. It's
And so it's none of us are taught how to sell. None of us are. I mean, like I say, it's the only profession where there's no qualification required to get in. Yeah,
but I just see it, man. It's just like having a conversation. It's just I think that you don't necessarily have to be the loudest or the brashest person in the room either, do you?
You've just got to be the best questioner. You've got to make the other person realize. Well, you must know more about this than me because you've asked me a load of questions that I should know the answer to and I don't. So you must, which means you know more about this than me. That's the only one thing I know I'm better at is this. I get in front of a CEO. They're smarter probably about everything else in life. But this is the one thing I know I can ask some questions that have them going, that's a good question. I don't know the answer. I don't know why we do that. I don't know why that happens. No, I've never thought of it like that. And after 45 minutes of someone doing that, by the end of it, do you believe I can help you? Yeah, I do actually. Why? Well, you've asked all the right questions. It's obviously you understand what you're doing.
In asking the questions, you're effectively demonstrating the skill set that you need to be training. That's what you're doing.
This is it. And that meeting, that experience they had with me, the number of times I've had an MD say, I don't know what you've done to me, but I want my guys to be able to do.
Also, I wouldn't even need to research you because you've already turned me from a hard no to fucking hell, that guy's right. You
don't need to research. I've signed up a client. I remember this was a recruitment company. That's a true story. Big recruiter down in Portsmouth. They got me in. I didn't want to go to the meeting because I said I don't like working with recruiters. And the director said, no, we're different from other recruiters. Please come and speak with us. I said, I'll only come if your CEO's there. I said, I'm not wasting my time unless the top guy's there and he can make a decision. The CEO didn't want to be there. It was quite obvious from the beginning of the meeting. He didn't want to be there. He was slightly annoyed. And I realized the moment this guy was annoyed and angry that he didn't want to be there, I thought, I'm going to sell to this guy. Because there's a theory. He can't stay that pissed off. He can only get more pissed off or move towards positive. He's like a pendulum. So I thought, fuck, I got nothing to lose. This guy's already angry, doesn't want to be here. So I thought I can just let rip. And I just did my thing. Everything that I teach, and I followed my structure. And at the end of it, he just turned to me, he goes, all right. He goes, I want to do this. I want to work with you. He goes, but I'll be honest with you. He goes, I wanted to throw you out of this meeting in the first 10 minutes. I said, well, why didn't you? Yeah. And then he started explaining why. He goes, I don't know what you've done.
Yeah.
I don't know how you've moved me from where I was to where I am now.
Yeah.
He goes, but that's really good. If we can do that, just a tenth of that.
That's the emotion thing you talked about earlier.
You've managed to move me. And he goes, I don't know how you've done it.
Yeah.
And I go, you think that's good? Do you want to see my magic trick? And he said, what's that? I go, okay. I go, what's the name of my company? He goes, I don't know. I go, how long have I been doing this? He goes, I don't know. I go, who do I work with?
Yeah.
He goes, I don't know. I go, so how is it you've agreed to work with me when you don't know anything about me? I go, other than my name's Benjamin, I said, what do you actually know about me based on this meeting? And he said, no. He goes, oh, that's good. I go, because all we've done is get you to talk about you, and I've made you realize that you need help with yourselves through the questions. I haven't had to show you anything. That takes a lot of practice and skill. Yeah, and it doesn't always go like that, but it does a lot.
But it's not being afraid to ask the questions knowing that the person's going to think, oh, right, okay, I might be at fault here, or I might have a defect here. It's uncovering the defect. You want to do that, don't you?
They've got to admit they're the one with the problem. They've got to admit they need help.
Yeah, and if they can't do that,
if they can't do that, then we're never going to work together. It doesn't matter how nice and wonderful we get on.
That's why people have 15 meetings and they still don't get the sale, right?
You don't know, exactly. You got to get in there early, talk with the key decision maker. I worked with one tech company, and they used to get pissed off because they'd start a project or they'd do a proposal, and then the MD would say, no, too expensive. Yeah. But the MD was never involved from the beginning of the process. Right. So I said, well, why didn't you just tell them? You can blame company policy. I love this. Everyone blames company. Just say company policy. We're not allowed to do the first meeting unless your MD's present. And people say, well, he won't be there. In that case, we can't start. Yeah. It's amazing how quickly people started getting the MD there.
But it's like with anything, like recruitment, any sale, you're better off knowing the bad stuff or why they won't say yes at the start instead of being afraid to answer the question and finding out at the end.
And if you leave it to the end, you actually give the prospect an out. Because what happens is you haven't got this uncomfortable conversation out of the way because you're hoping I won't come up. Or if it doesn't comes up at the end where you feel it's easier. But when you get to the end, how many meetings has it been where it's like, look, I've really enjoyed this meeting. I'm just looking at the time though. I do have to really get going. Yeah. And then you're left, okay, no, that's fine. Well, shall we send over that? Look, it's fine. Just leave it with me. Yeah. And then you leave there. Was it a good meeting? I think he liked us. I think it went well. And now you're stuck. What is the next? I don't know. What do we do? Yeah. And that's because you fucked up. Yeah. And it annoys me, and you watch it. And this is all they do. And if you ever leave a meeting and you don't have a clear agreed next step, and a clear agreed next step isn't you doing something for them. Right. It's them doing something for you.
This is the next thing I want to talk to you about. We talked a lot about kind of like gatekeeping and getting through them and all that, but the close, this last bit, how would you advise the audience around, you've had all the nice conversations, but getting the deal,
Well, the problem is everyone closes in the wrong place. Everyone is expecting you to close at the end of the meeting. Yeah. I know that. Everyone knows that. The prospects know that.
I know what he's coming now,
Yeah, so I do what I call the omega. You close at the beginning. I agree at the beginning what's going to happen at the end.
Yeah. Give us an example of that then.
So if it was me selling in my thing, okay, look, so I'll be upfront with you, Christopher. I'm not for everybody. Some people don't like my style. Some people find my approach a bit challenging. Others find my style a little awkward. So can you do me a favor? If you think for any reason that we can't move forwards today, or you don't want to put me in front of your guys, can you give me a no today and just say, Benjamin, thanks, but this ain't going anywhere?
I don't want to say yes or no yet.
See, no one ever does that. It's fascinating. This is why I love role play with salespeople.
Come on, boy.
They always become the uber bastard prospect that doesn't exist. But they never say that.
Yeah, but I love doing role plays myself.
They never say that though.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. No, not a decision maker can always say, I'll give you a no. Right. They always say, it's fine, I'll give you a no.
Oh, okay.
I don't have a problem giving you a no.
Okay, so if I said that, then what would you say to that?
If you said that, okay. So you're telling me that even if you hated me by the end of this meeting, you still need to think it over?
If I hated you by the end of this meeting, no, that would be a no.
Oh, so you can give me a no then?
If you want me to, I will.
Oh, there you are then. So yeah, you're happy to give me a no if you don't want to move forwards then. Yeah. You see, I can get you there. Right. But again, that never happens. Only in training. Okay. It's fascinating.
Yeah. So you're what you're saying, the psychology of this, right, is that if a prospect wants to say yes, they wouldn't say no.
Yeah. But the only person that can't give you, the only person that would do that is a non-decision maker.
Right.
The only person that can't commit yes or no is someone that can't make a decision anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you know you're already fucked up.
If people say like, yeah, it's been great, Ben, I think what I want to do is you send me your quotes, your prices, all this kind of stuff, and we'll get back to you on Friday. What do you say to that?
Well, again, we've missed out the whole body of the meeting, so the odds of it ending like that are slim. Again, because this is the problem I have when I teach salespeople.
Yeah.
They're throwing in the current paradigm and saying, how would you deal with it? I go, but I'm never in that paradigm. We're operating in a different universe when you do it my way. So things like that never come up.
I see. Right.
It never comes up.
You wouldn't allow it because you've already done it.
They know at the end there's never going to be no quote or proposal because I've made that clear at the beginning. So that can never come up at the end.
So hold on. So let's go back again. So you're saying within the sort of the first couple of minutes, you would try.
I'm going to tell you what the next step is, and if you don't like it, tell me now.
Okay.
The next, because I'm selling stuff.
Yeah.
So I do that. So I ask you, can you give me a no today? And everyone says, yeah, of course.
So if I say, but then aren't you then pushing me away?
Yes, I am. It's my job. I'm trying to. I don't want to work with you. I'm trying to get rid of you.
So wouldn't you ask why?
No.
So I said, oh, okay.
Yeah, you'd say, yeah, sure, I'll give you a no.
So what? But so if I said to you, I'm not quite convinced yet. I need a bit more time to think about it.
No, we're at the beginning of the meeting. You wouldn't be saying that.
Oh, right. Okay.
We're right at the beginning of the meeting.
So you would open it up
every time.
Do that again, just so everyone can hear it again.
Very simple. Look, whatever you want to say, have your own form. But my words will be look. But look, so if at any point during this meeting you get the feeling I'm just not right for you, can you just say, look, Benjamin, thanks, but it's going to be a no?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll do that. Yeah.
Great. Now, I'm going to ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Tough, challenging, maybe uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Can I do that?
Okay, yeah, of course.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. And if I don't believe, based on your answers, that I actually can help you or I'm going to match the expectations that I think you're going to have, would you be upset if I said, no, can't work with you?
No, I love this. It's great. Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
And lastly, then, if we don't say no to each other, we'll set aside a couple of minutes and figure out a next step on how we move forward.
See, like, I already like you in that situation.
Yeah, every MD says, I like the way you open your meetings, cut through all the bullshit. Yeah. This is not a Tinder event. This is not a social occasion.
No, right.
At the end of this meeting, a decision is going to be made. Do we move forwards or do we not? Now, what the move forwards looks like, we don't know yet because I haven't told you. But I'm getting you to agree. Yeah, and everyone says, you can't do that. People... No, you can do it. You just got to have the guts to do it. It's very uncomfortable to do. Okay. Particularly if you're sitting in someone's office in their boardroom.
I love this because it's almost like, sorry to interrupt you there, you've kind of like reversed it. I'm like kind of like, I actually don't want to say no now because I'm so intrigued about you. Your confidence is very, very, very obvious.
Look, I don't need your business. I'd like it, but I don't need it.
Right.
That's my mindset. Yeah, I'd love to work with you, but I don't need your business.
So you're qualifying literally in the first sentence.
Trying to get rid of you. So I'm giving you, I'm making it easy for you to give me no.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, and then you will say, that's fine. Okay. Shall I tell you what the next step is? Because we've only got one.
Let's do that, yeah.
And then no one ever says, no, let's leave it as a surprise.
So just to interrupt you again, I was taught about the difference between open and closed questions. You've got to ask open questions, get them talking, but you do lots of closed questions. Yes,
because I'm in control. I'm controlling it. It will change. So this is I'm controlling the meeting.
Yeah.
You're in my meeting. I'm not in yours. And this is my sales process. I'm not here to learn how to sell to you. Yeah. I'm educating you on how to buy from me.
And I think that if you haven't got this kind of salespersonship, you might as well not be in sales.
No. No, otherwise you're in there literally hoping to take an order.
Yeah. It's not a date. As you say,
it's not a social occasion.
No.
For too many salespeople, sales meetings are social events. That's not for me. I'm in there for two reasons. We're either going to say no to each other, we both agree that this isn't right, or we're moving forwards.
Have you found this, some industry sectors take this approach and some don't? Any nuances in industry sectors? Because all of them at first say it won't work in our world. Yeah.
Until they do it.
Yeah.
They realize I said, so no one ever argues with it. I said, I know, no one ever argues with this. It's perfect because it's so logical. Again, it's appealing to the logic bit of your brain. Yes, I can give you a no. Yes, you can ask me questions. And it's okay if you give me a no. And obviously, if you don't say no to each other, then it's okay to discuss how we move forward. And then I tell you what the next step's going to be.
what's the structure of it? Is it set into different ways of introduction, objection handling, closing, or what is it?
Well, it's everything that I know bundled into different courses. Okay. So there's telephone prospecting.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So that shows you exactly why you're making a telephone call down. It's all broken down into modules. Then there's effective questioning. Then there's questioning strategy. Then there's how to run a sales meeting. Then there's how to sell proposals and closes. Everything is broken down into its finite compartments because what I teach, you have to make your own.
Yes.
I give you a structure. I give you music to play, but you're going to figure out how to play it. I can't answer. I can't give you the questions you're going to ask because your questions are going to come from your product knowledge and your world. I can give you the structures. I can tell you when and how, but you're going to have to populate the questions with your
Do you think
knowledge.
Do you think inherently you can give them all the tools, but if they haven't got the mindset and the belief and the kind of, they're not going to do it? Or
well, belief follows behavior. So it's like I said, we use going to the gym an example. You don't want to go to the gym, but you force yourself to go to the gym.
Right.
After about a month of forcing yourself to go to a gym, you're no longer forcing yourself.
Yeah.
Because you actually, the behavior that you've done is now driving your belief, and your belief is actually, I quite enjoy if I don't go to the gym, I kind of miss going. So now I believe I should go to the gym.
Yeah.
So you have to force yourself to do the behavior. If you wait for your belief system to change, then you'll never change.
No, right.
So you've got to do the behavior.
Yeah.
So you've got to be uncomfortable. You've got to do things that you say won't work.
So true. So true.
So you've got to do it. This is why 80% of people I train will only do bits of it.
Yeah.
Because what they do is they take the bits they're comfortable with.
Yeah.
I can do that. I get great.
Yeah.
But the bit you should really focus on is a bit that you don't want to do because that's where the power is.
My business is called Base Mindset, BASE, because most companies, they hire on skills and experience, SE, but they fire on behaviors and attitudes. It's the attitude, behaviors and actions that trump everything.
Yes.
I think.
It's I use the search model when doing recruitment: skills, experience, attitudes, behaviors, results, experience, and habits. And most people, as you say, employ for skills, experience, and results.
Yeah.
But I do this when I'm working with recruiters, and I go and I ask them. So if you were to ask an MD, what do those three things have in common? What would they say? Skills, experience, and results. What do those three things have in common? And the recruiters don't know. I go, so if you don't know, I can guarantee your client doesn't know, right? Yeah. So now you're already looking fucking smart. Yeah. So what do they have in common? I don't know. What? Let me ask you now. And so I don't give them the answer. I do everything in questions. Well, let me ask you a better way. Do you think those are forward or backward looking indicators? And then they go backwards. Exactly.
Yeah.
Backwards. Yeah. So other than backwards, why would you hire for somebody that can only prove to you that up to this point they could do what they're doing? Yeah. What should you be looking for? I guess forward. So what are forward indicators? What's a forward indicator? Attitudes and beliefs. So what are the attitudes and beliefs of a person that's going to be successful in this role?
Yes. Love that.
And they go, I've never thought of that. No. And your client never has. So when you start asking these questions and you know the answers, you're going to look a lot better. So you need to design the job, not around skills, experience, and result, as important as they are. They're not essential. What's essential is what are the attitudes and behaviors of the person we're looking for? Yeah. The other one is habits. What are the habits of this person that will make them successful? Because a habit is something you did yesterday, you did today, and you'll do tomorrow. So what are those habits?
That's the thing. And I think that you've just done a bit of a masterclass there in recruiting in terms of like, it's not just in different markets, but it's not just matching a CV to a JD. You've got to get all this stuff right as well.
You've got to get all this is the important stuff, the stuff that's not ever spoken.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you start raising this with your clients, I'll scratch your head. I have no idea. Now you got a whole new product to sell.
Yeah.
Well, if you decide to work with us, one of the first things we're going to do is help you figure out the skills, habits, and all the things. And so it changes the dynamic.
Mate, we're kind of coming to the end. I want to ask just a couple of more questions. It's been fascinating. I want to go back to family, mate. And family. This character, this hat. But when you're at home with are you married with kids or not?
Married. Got a wife. We've been married since 2011.
Oh, nice. Okay.
We met in 2006 here in London. Our daughter is 11.
Oh, wow. Beautiful. What's her name?
Oriana.
Oh, beautiful name.
Like the cruise ship, which we didn't know of until we named her. But you don't meet many I meet a couple of Arianas, but not many Orianas. We only met one other Oriana. It was in Florida.
Yeah. So are you as direct with your daughter and your wife? I'm sure.
Well, I've spent my whole my daughter's childhood teaching her this.
Oh, really?
So she doesn't answer questions. She's an 11-year-old kid who knows how not to answer a question.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's going to stand her in good stead.
Yeah, it is. I've taught her. Yeah, I've said to her, look, I don't care what you study at university. I don't care if you go. If you can sell, you'll always make money. So my job is to give you this.
Are you the same then, person? Kind of.
No, at home. Well, no, because I have a character and an act. You've now got the character and the act. So, no, I guess I'm like most extroverted people.
Yeah.
Which means we're very introverted when we don't have to be.
I see, yeah.
So I'm very much when I go home, like I say, this is my uniform. So when I come home, no matter how shit my day's been, I can take off my hat and say, well, I had a bad day as a salesman, but the husband, the dad, he's fine.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't been out there taking the hits. So it's very important. One of the things I talk to my clients about is separating your identity from your role. A recruitment consultant is a role.
It is, yeah.
It's not your identity.
No, right.
It's just a role. And you can fail in your role. Fine, but you haven't failed at being you. You just failed
It's like
in
a
your
performance,
role.
isn't it?
It's a performance.
Yeah.
You can improve your performance. You can get better.
I agree.
You can invest in your role. But don't ever take... This is why salespeople are up and down like this.
Yeah.
Because they take it personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a shit salesman, so it also means you're kind of a shit dad.
I think you're right. I don't wear a suit anymore, but when I did, and I put the suit on, I became this completely different person. And I kind of like... And I took it off, and I think people don't understand that actually. That it is like you switch a gear and you're kind of like you're into this intuitive kind of salesperson zone and mindset, man. You've got to be tuned in, haven't you?
Yes, you've got to play the character.
Yeah.
And the character though doesn't go home.
No.
You've got to learn how to separate the two. So identity and role is very important.
Right.
So no, I'm not like this at home. We have a lot. Yeah, I always make my wife laugh though. One of the things I've always had is a quick thinking brain.
Humor.
So when I hear things, I'm very easily able. So one of the things we love, which people that know us hate, is when we watch TV, all we do is spend our time mocking it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, we can never watch anything seriously. And someone says something and then I'll make a comment that we start like, it's just always mocking, because I don't take life seriously at all. I think that's the other thing. People take this too seriously.
Right. Definitely. Yeah.
I think people take it way too seriously. They take sales too seriously.
I think that's right. I think I've changed my values with self-love, authenticity, and life, as in, be whimsical, have a bit of fun, and kind of like, you've got to.
No, I'm amazed I get paid to do what I do. I always say, I'm amazed I get paid to do this.
So extrovert in your character, but at home,
introverted.
Are you quite? Because I can be quite shy and quite vulnerable and all this kind of. Do you have a softer side, for want of a better term, or
softer side? It's funny. I was at an event.
Yeah.
Late last year in Poole. I was on a boat, actually, and it was a sort of a party boat. And I don't like big social events like that. So even though I'm an extroverted guy and I know a lot of people there, I was sort of standing off to one side, talking to a guy having a drink. And then this guy came up to introduce himself. And I said, oh, hi, I'm Benjamin. He goes, yes, I know who you are, Benjamin. And he just said to me, it was funny. So he goes, can I ask you a question? I said, sure. He goes, you're a very introverted person, aren't you? I said, that's interesting that you say that, because we've just met. I said, why do you say that? He goes, I've seen your online persona and I've just been watching you in this environment. And he goes, you just stand back. I said, yes, I've always done this. And the other reason I said I've always done it is I've always liked to get a feel for the room. So when I used to have proper jobs and go into the office, for the first few weeks, I was always the reserved one at the back, because I just like to observe, try to figure out the politics, how it all interacts, to see where I would fit in or what I need to do. But no, I'm not a party guy. I used to be when I was younger, obviously. But now I'm just like to stay at home. I don't often have people over because I like the solitude.
Yeah, fair play.
But I spend my life talking to people. My whole life is talking.
So you can't do that 24/7.
Exactly. So when I don't have to do it, I don't do it. So I don't voluntarily put myself into situations.
Amazing. So we're both in our prime at 48.
48.
What's the future looking like for you, mate?
I think it's looking pretty good. The platform's going really well.
Yeah.
My brand's doing pretty good. I mean, I'm serious. It's probably got, a few more years in it before it gets a bit stale. And I don't know, but business is going well. We own a property still in England. We own one in New Zealand.
Brilliant.
So business, I've done well out of this.
Yeah.
I may do something completely different. I've been doing this now for nearly 20 years in sales.
So you've got no design to have like a big company, because you can't have 20 Benjamins.
No.
You're going to have one.
No. I have no desire to have a business of any sort where I've got loads of people under me. No. It's just not me. No. I just don't want to do it. I don't want the headache. It's funny, the number of people I talk to that do have it, it's just, they say, oh, you're so lucky you don't have employees.
Oh, mate, I've been there myself. I had 100 people at once. Yeah. And it's just like you end up being a brother, counsellor, mother, father most of the time.
And I don't have time for that. I just rather do what I like doing. I don't need, I make enough money to be quite comfortable doing what I'm doing. I've got a good work-life balance. I mean, I took about 16 weeks off last year. When I add up how much time I can have off.
Well, that's you.
So I spend. So me and my family have a lot of holidays. We're always doing stuff.
So if I was asking you, your motive feels like it's. I hate this work-life balance stuff, but it's
freedom,
right?
It's the freedom to do what I want when I want, and I have that. And that is why that was the ultimate goal. I always said this. The ultimate goal is to get good at sales, so you don't have to do it. That's the whole point of getting good at it. When you get really good at something, you no longer have to do it. So the goal was to build something where people would just start giving me money and I wouldn't have to do a lot. So that's where the platform came in. But I had to build the brand, the reputation. I had to demonstrate through years that this stuff worked, so that people that don't know me are willing to give me money even though they've never physically spoken with me or talked to me. And so that's what my platform does. And it's going to continue to grow. I'll keep investing in it. I've got a good guy that helps me with it.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and I'll even give you I should have some sort of deal for your viewers, I guess. I don't know. I didn't even think of that.
Well, I was going to say, so what sort of advice would you like to give the listeners around maybe LinkedIn, actually, or platforms like that? What do you think, not the key to success, because everyone, I'm not one of them, but what advice would you give?
Well, with LinkedIn, I guess, I mean, it has changed, but the advice I got that kicked me off using LinkedIn back in 2016 was you got to look at LinkedIn just like any other form of prospecting. Yeah. You have to be on it daily.
Yeah.
You have to, Monday to Friday. I don't necessarily mean weekends, but at least Monday to Friday. Yeah. You need to be posting something. You need to post stuff that are going to make people interested. I would say you need to be slightly controversial and disruptive. Yeah. You have to stand out.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's other stuff in there that makes the algorithm work, which I can't talk to, but the basics are, you need to be able to talk about something that you have some intelligence in and have an opinion or a viewpoint that people are going to listen to, just not regurgitating or copying other people. And you've just got to be consistent, like with anything in life, and be patient. I knew when I started LinkedIn, it would take a couple of years before I'd start getting leads. And we're going back to 2016 when it was in its infancy, but I knew it would take a long time. Everyone's in there for a quick fix. Well, I did a post, it got 10,000 likes, but did you need business? No,
mate, absolutely, totally.
And so you got to be patient. Because a lot of the times the people that give you money aren't the ones interacting.
No, but I also think video is great, actually, isn't it? And I watched, in closing, I watched your 10 ways to avoid being a sales loser. I thought it was brilliant. Why don't you give us 4 or 5 of those to close?
I can't remember.
Oh.
Honestly,
I think one of them was not taken personally, wasn't it?
One was taken. I can't. 10 ways not to be a salesman. I can't remember.
Off the top of your head, what the faux pas? What the no's in a salesperson? Do you think
the no's in a salesperson are trying to be liked, trying to impress, having an emotional attachment to the outcome, so actually caring, not asking challenging, uncomfortable questions. Too many salespeople shy away from doing that. Putting a prospect on a pedestal as if they're better than you. They're not. Your prospect is never more than your equal.
Absolutely, love that.
You got to remember that. And it's a little difficult if you're 23 and you're talking to a 48-year-old who's running a company, but you got to remember, this is also key. The prospect is the one with the problem. Not you. Their money has no power unless you want it. That's a really big one.
Yeah, love that.
Money is useless unless someone wants it. Like I've said, if I had the cure for cancer and Elon Musk said, I'll give you 100 billion. And I said, no, I think you're a dick. I hope you die. Unless he hires a hitman and kills me and nicks it, his money's useless. So money only has power in the mind of the person who wants it. And unfortunately, most salespeople go in to every interaction trying to get the money. Trying to get the meeting.
Desperate.
Attached to the outcome. And if you're attached to the outcome, you can't do your job properly.
See, that's so important. I think people can smell it through the phone, can't they?
Oh, desperation, you know. Yeah, and yeah, it's obvious.
Yeah.
And most salespeople are desperate, and that's it. We use words like, "Well, they're tenacious and persistent." It's like, no. In any other sector of life, they'd be arrested for a crime.
Benjamin, absolutely loved it. I think you're an amazing character. I think what you've done has been brilliant. It's fascinating conversation. Thank you for coming on, mate.
Thank you for inviting me. I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Nice one.